following is a presentation of WLCN 96.3 FM and WLCNonline.com.
And welcome to Viewpoint, your program with personalities, politicians, and perspectives. We're going to get all three this morning. We got two great personalities. We're going to get some perspectives about law enforcement in Lincoln-Logan County. And we're going to talk about politics because I might lose my job. We always try to start Viewpoint with a coup or two. At the place where I live, yes. Christian Ed Village. Thank you. I even forgot where I lived. They always show classic movies out there for us. And yesterday I saw one of the great classics of all time, and really enjoyed it. And it was The Bridge Over the River Kwai. That's an old timer, and it's a great storyline. And so thanks to the folks out there at the Christian Village for making that little extra effort. Lloyd, let's get right on to serious business. We've got two guys who are giving their valuable time.
That we do. So joining us today from the law enforcement community, we have Chief Joe Meister. You prefer Joe, correct?
Either way.
Joe Joseph Meister, City of Lincoln Police Chief, as well as Mark Landers, the Logan County Sheriff. So
one of our own.
Yeah, exactly.
One of our own boys. We wrote him up and did a damn good job. If you
Absolutely,
ask me.
Absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, we appreciate your taking your time to be with us this morning. Chief, I want to welcome you as a new kid on the block, so to speak. Let's just start with the Chief of Lincoln, Illinois Police Department. When you came aboard with us, sir?
I was hired here in 2012. I started in August of 2012, so I've been here just a little over 11 years now, and moved my family here to Lincoln, as we discussed earlier. So we're not Lincoln natives, but we've been here for a little over a decade now. And
what, for a big dude, you haven't made much impression. No, seriously. We've gone through a series of changes in our chief department. We had a real good one. Your predecessor was an excellent chief, and apparently we're carrying on to that same modus operandi. So what is as you go through the threshold in the morning, what is your biggest problem that faces you, Chief, among many?
Well, right now, funding, as far as problems that face a chief, it's funding for the training requirements that the state is mandating for all of our officers now. That's a big hurdle to get the time and the money to train the officers the way that the legislature requires us to train.
Yeah, I'd like to touch on that in just a minute.
That's the biggest hurdle.
And Sheriff Landers, your new employees, your new deputies, have to have the same background and training. Now, is this over at the University of Illinois? We have to send men over there to the academy over there. Am I correct in that?
There is an academy there at U of I. There's several academies in the state of Illinois. There's one in Decatur, there's one in southern Illinois, and you take advantage of those as you can. They're usually full. It's hard to get folks into them, so you have to plan quite a bit in advance. To Joe's point, the training aspect of it is they're getting ready to increase the number of hours required for basic law enforcement and basic corrections. July 1st, I believe that's going up an additional 3 weeks for corrections, and then 4 more weeks for law enforcement. So that's going to, before, it took about, by the time you had a brand new police hire with no experience, by the time you'd gone through the academy, the field training program, and the shadow program, it was 7 months before that police officer was actually in a car by themselves. So it's not just hiring, somebody off the street and immediately in the next month or two you're going to see some productivity or some availability for that individual. It takes that long just to get them into a place where they're on a shift in a car by themselves.
You mentioned the funding for that training is important. Unfunded mandates seem to be sort of the norm these days for you folks. In addition to the training, you also have, of course, the Safety Act that has been in the news lately. Where do things stand with that in terms of the Safety Act and whether it's law or how things are going with that?
Just the other day, the Supreme Court heard the arguments brought forth regarding the cash bail portion of the Safety Act. All of the other parts of that act are in effect or will be in effect over the next 3 years, 2 years now. So a portion of that act is in effect, but the Supreme Court will issue its decision hopefully here soon about the cash bail.
Where we struggle with is that, as you said, the unfunded mandates. For instance, you'd mentioned the body cameras. So agencies our size or smaller, and that expense to an agency that's our size, we don't have to have the cameras implemented until January 1st of 2025. That's the time. Now, Chief Meister got ahead of the game. They got the funding, but you're talking $150,000 to $170,000 just to get them up and running. And then you've got, server fees, and you've got redaction software that's necessary, and the employee that's necessary so anybody can FOIA, obviously, public records, and if a FOIA is granted, if that should include video of an incident or something, then you have to go through and then redact certain things, faces or juveniles or things like that aren't a part of that FOIA. It all takes time. It all takes money, and that money's, they're telling us we have to do these things, but they're not funneling that money down to us. You put that on top of, the necessary resources that are needed for running a jail, for squad car fleets, for fuel as it goes up and down. The biggest problem with us for training is that we run 3 deputies per shift. Well, there's all this mandated training, which is good. We're never going to argue about more training for our guys. But when you end up having to send those folks to training, now you're either running short or you're paying overtime. It's that trickle-down effect of finances that state legislators here in Illinois just feel like we have unlimited resources in small communities.
And Lloyd, I want to ask you, gentlemen, if our table of organization is full, are you full up as far as the necessary men and or ladies that you need to have a full staff, sir?
We currently are one short in corrections. We're always sending out applications or notices for hiring in there. My dispatch center is currently full, and right now I have all of my deputy positions currently filled. Now,
Chief Meister, what about your Lincoln Police staff? Are you full up at this point in time?
Unfortunately, I can't report that we are full, nor have we been full since prior to 2021.
So you're working shorthanded on your staff.
Yeah,
that means
we
you've
were
got to
very
maneuver
short.
men around and ladies around.
Right.
Do we have any ladies on the street now, sir?
Yes, yeah,
do.
and we have 3 more employees going through the hiring process right now, 2 of whom are ladies, and we already have 1 existing female officer at District 27 School Resource Officer, Christy Forget.
Oh, Christy?
Yep.
Top drawer.
Yep.
Top drawer. 648-5510. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 people you want to respect. They're doing a great job for us. Call in, we had a question. Don't ask about your personal problems. They're not going to be, we don't have the collar on for that. But seriously, we have Chief of Police Meister and our Sheriff Mark Landers. They're doing a good job for you. Every day they go to work, they face a new challenge. And speaking of challenges, I'm just going to make an observation that I'm certain is true. Even an innocent traffic stop for a stop sign or anything, any innocent, it can be fraught with danger because you don't know who's behind the wheel. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I think there's law enforcement's anything but routine anymore.
Nothing is routine.
I tell you that, at least it's been my experience here in the last few years, that I don't know if it's, and I think it's a national problem. It's not just a local problem, but the challenge to authority, the willingness to run. I know that we've had several incidents within the city limits and in the county where drivers, a police officer, deputy goes to make just a regular traffic stop for maybe speeding or some violation, and that individual will immediately accelerate and be doing 70, 80, 90 miles an hour down Woodlawn trying to get away. And the problem with that is that these individuals have zero regard for public safety. So they can sit here and say all the darts that have been thrown at law enforcement over the last few years. The one thing I can say to you is that the men and women that we work with here are professionals, and that they put public safety first. And these individuals that are running like that and putting others' lives at risk is ridiculous.
And fighting. People aren't submitting to an officer's arrest authority like they historically have. We've had several officers seriously injured over the last couple of years due to felonious attacks.
So in the state of Illinois, if an officer tells you that you're under arrest, then you're under arrest. You don't have a right or an ability to fight that police officer. You submit, and then if you believe that the arrest is not proper, then you obviously get an attorney and you fight that in court. We're not seeing that. We're seeing an escalation in violence against police officers, and that's something we're having to train our folks about. Now, I'll tell you this, gentlemen, that the police officers are young men and women. Most are in their early 20s, you know. They're excited to get into this profession to help people. But many times they don't have a whole lot of life experience when it comes to that conflict resolution or de-escalation. And that's one of the primary things that we try to teach them, because you're going to encounter it. It's going to happen. And people are going to say and do a lot of things trying to get you to step off of that professional element that you're supposed to have and should have, and what we train. And that's really, when they talk about training for us and throwing training at our guys, that will take as much as we can get. We just need the funding to make it happen.
You know what, I'm sitting here thinking, I may be the oldest one on the airways here that remembers when we were kind of a Mayberry situation here. And we had a day, and this is true, when the sheriff and the county treasurer would just kind of switch offices. That's just the way it was. Dutch Keefe would be the sheriff one time, then he'd be the treasurer the next time, and the Raymond Downs would switch with Dutch Keefe. And nobody complained. We were well run. But this was kind of the Mayberry area. Everybody was kind of okay with it. The officers were well run.
I like to say that we stand on the shoulder of giants, right? Because the guys that came before us were the ones that put that foundation below us, and we try to carry on that tradition. But I will say that things are changing and have changed.
Absolutely.
The jail is now typically full. You know.
On a given day, you'll find all cells full.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On some days, you know, arrests that are happening, we're having to transport to another facility because our facility just isn't.
And that costs us money to board them out in Macon County or wherever.
For the daily fee, as well as the transportation back and forth to our court to bring them back, and the manpower and the staffing necessary. So yeah, and then should medical costs arise, I mean, there's all kinds of things that are written into that. But yeah, it's significant.
Speaking of significant, we're significantly in need of an upgraded jail facility, are we not?
Yes, sir. The
That's
current
the next block.
facility.
We're
I
just
know.
getting the courthouse dome fixed now.
I know it's kind of a touchy subject, but yeah, the current facility was completed in 1978. It was originally constructed to hold 36, I believe, was the total number, 6 females and 30 males, and obviously back in the 1980s, they went into the facility and basically doubled the capacity by adding bunk beds, really is what they did. They didn't increase the area,
Square
the footage,
area.
or anything. So you've now taken a facility that was built to hold 30 odd folks and doubled that. And now you've doubled the water usage, the sewer usage, the just the wear and tear on the doors and the hinges and all the equipment. So yeah, it's in desperate need of something. But again, it comes down to funding.
Right.
And, you know, when back when Sheriff Nichols was still here and was advocating for a new facility, and we went through a process where we brought in an architectural firm, and they came in the, this would have been 2017, 2018, back when I first started talking about it. They came in at a price of around, I think 9 million is what it would have been to have a new expansion, which would have held around 80 individuals, right? All upgraded, more of the direct supervision as opposed to the indirect supervision which we have now. And through the course of COVID and just the supply chain issues and everything else that happened, in 2022 that price was 21 million. So it went from 9 to 21 million. So there's really just no possible way that the county can afford something like that. It's impossible. And there's no money. I know that the national politicians kind of touted this infrastructure bill and all these billions of dollars that were going to be coming to the states. Well, none of it's for jails. Back when I'd reached out to our former rep, Roddy Davis, you know, and asked if there was any kind of funding available for that kind of thing, none of that. Jails aren't sexy, right? Roads and bridges, we want to get those, and we need those, absolutely. But the jail is infrastructure, and we are, the sheriff's office, me particularly, am responsible for the safety and security of that facility, the safety and security of those individuals. I have zero opinion on anybody inside of my facility. My job and my staff's job is to house them and make sure that they get their day in court, and to do so safely. That's what we try to do. So we have currently had another study done where we would do a smaller addition, and that addition would be upgrading to the south of the facility, and it would be an attachment on to the existing structure, so we would still be using some of our existing cell blocks, but this would update. We're having a huge problem with mental health.
Really?
Oh, sir, it's probably, I would say mental health is the #1 problem in the state as a whole, not in just the criminal justice field. Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it flops on the board.
Absolutely, absolutely, because then you get mental health and then drug addiction on top of it, and you've got all these issues, and then somebody will commit a criminal offense, they'll be arrested, and now we're going to throw them into a jail and say, behave, without anything. It's a tough spot. This new facility will account for some of that. It will also account for the COVID protocols that are necessary.
This project is critically important for public safety in Lincoln and Logan County. My guys and Mark's guys are keeping that jail full, and they're not keeping that jail full of minor offenses. These are serious crimes that people are filling up our jail with, and we need those people off the street.
And you
And
use
Mark
two
needs the
words.
space to
Use two words
hold them.
that take special training: mental health. And the average officer on the street, obviously, is not going to be too well trained unless he gets the special training in that.
Our guys have been doing a fantastic job, and police officers have been doing a fantastic job of dealing with the mental health crisis for decades. It just hasn't been recognized. Usually the only publicity that we get when dealing with mental health crisis is bad publicity, because things didn't work out the way that we wanted them to. But we have increased the amount of training that focuses on dealing with mental health crisis, responding to somebody who's in a mental health crisis themselves. So we're doing a good job. It just isn't recognized.
I presume that's part of the curricula as they go through the academy.
Yes, sir.
Chief Meister, when you hire a new person for the street, how long does it take them to get processed so they can be ready for street duty?
Well, we do a lot of pre-employment testing, which includes psychological examination, physical examination.
That's where you and I fall out.
Doing things like that, and that takes a few weeks, but they spend 16 weeks at the academy for their basic training. Once they graduate, they join the field training program, where they're in uniform learning to do the job under the supervision of a field training officer. That happens for 12 weeks, unless we see a need for more training, at which point that would be extended. So like Mark described, it takes a good year to get somebody really ready to go.
That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
when
we
you're
only
working
want professional
short-handed
police officers.
and you need the bodies on the streets to cover your territory, that's a long time.
And you're looking at 3 to 5 years before a police officer is actually fully, confident enough that he's handled enough.
Repeat that again, Sheriff McLanders.
3 to 5 years before you'll have a police officer that's really confident enough to go out there and because of the diversity of the job, you may go to 100 domestics in a year, let's say, and every one of them will be different. And
Yeah,
it's
sure.
it's just the nuances of this job that there's so much. We expect these young people to come in and be law enforcement officers, but society expects them to be counselors and to be mental health
Counselors and
experts,
all that
and
business.
and there's some good to that, but I think that what's happened is that we've put a lot on law enforcement that because we've cut away from, and again I hate to keep harping on it, but the mental health aspect of it, you have an individual in a jail who's on medication, who is addicted to alcohol or drugs, and there's nothing, you can't force them to take medications in a county jail. DOC has the ability, but if you need a break, I'll cut that off.
Whenever you're done.
So
We'll
yeah.
we'll take a break now and run to the commercial. That keeps us going, these commercials. Torch, WLCN, each Wednesday morning at 08:15 to 0900 hours. Our guests is a couple of real special gentlemen. I'm not saving that because I don't drive anymore. My daughter-in-law won't let me drive, so I don't have to worry about tickets. So, but seriously, we are indeed very lucky to have Sheriff Mark Landers as our sheriff. Not only a law officer, but he's kind of a real estate guy too, because he's in charge of the courthouse and has to make sure things go well with what's going on there. And Sheriff Meister, that is not a Mount Pulaski name. We've said that time and time and time again, because that is a very important name over there on Vinegar Hill. So go right ahead, Lloyd.
Well, we were talking off air about your backgrounds and the fact that Chief Meister, you took the job January 1st, but your background in law enforcement actually was more in you had a stint in undercover operations. So we were talking earlier about seeing different situations and domestics. I'm sure in undercover you probably saw a wide variety of different situations that you know, we see what's on TV, but I'm sure that's not anywhere near what happens in real life.
No, not quite. Working undercover is a very rewarding job because you get to see crime as it occurs instead of just responding to it. You're taking part in it. We're out there buying illegal guns and buying illegal drugs. And it's a blast, and it's also a great tool for the community to help reduce the amount of crime. Sheriff Landers and the Logan County Sheriff's Department participate in the Central Illinois Enforcement Group, which is a task force that both Mark and I worked for during our service years doing undercover and covert work. The Lincoln Police Department has historically always been a part of that task force as well, and I think we both value it because narcotics are really the driving force in our community when it comes to the crimes that are occurring. For most crimes, you know, narcotics and the use and addiction drive the property crimes, which turn into violent crimes, and it's just a scourge on our community, and it's a good tool to use to address it.
648-5510. Ladies and gentlemen, we have two fine gentlemen representing our law enforcement in Lincoln, Logan County, our Lincoln Police Chief, Mr. Meister, and our Logan County Sheriff comes from a solid family in this county, and we're glad to have him. By the way, I wrote the Chief a couple of years ago now a letter about how steely-eyed his deputies were. They saw my expired plates clear from here to Burtonview. And I got stopped. I wondered what the heck I'd done. And the reason I mention that is I felt inspired to write a note to Mark about it, how professional that deputy was. Very polite, very professional. And I thought that kind of indicated what we're working with on our entire police force and sheriff's department staff. Go ahead, Lloyd.
Well, you were talking about some of the different tools that you use in terms of investigating crimes, stopping crimes, things like that. You, Chief Meister, have done something kind of unique I've seen in the last month or so. On social media, I noticed some Facebook posts with information about different crimes and incidents in the community. That's something I hadn't seen before. Can you kind of tell me what sort of the inspiration was for that, and has it been an effective tool in maybe getting some leads or helping with those situations?
I'm glad you brought that up, Lloyd. The Lincoln Police Department hasn't historically been very open with what kind of offenses we deal with and what we investigate and what we're out doing. I want to be more transparent because it shows the people that your police officers are out there working hard for the community. It shows the community we do have some problems to deal with, and we need their help to solve crimes. If you don't get any cooperation from the community, your solvability for these investigations goes way down. So I look forward to being more open about what's going on in the community for those reasons.
Now, on the particular post I saw, I think there were maybe 5 or 6 different incidents listed, maybe within the past month or 2 months or so. Of course, anytime you put something up the flagpole, someone's going to have a comment about it. I saw several of the comments from people who were like, gee, it would have been nice to know about these things back when they were happening, some of the things that had been a couple months ago. But, I mean, in your defense, if it's an ongoing investigation or there's things you're looking into, as much as you want to be transparent, I'm sure you probably aren't able to divulge everything to the public.
Correct. We have to be careful about what type of information we release when an investigation is still open. I did update the community quickly on the first gun crime that we dealt with in February. We had multiple different weapons offenses that we investigated during February. And I saw that there was some rumor out there about the 2nd Street shots fired investigation, and I didn't want that to be the only information out there. So in that case, I did promptly issue a press release. The other cases wasn't quite as important to get that information out there that quickly.
I noticed, Lloyd, that our chief is wearing something relatively new. I emphasize relatively new in uniforms. He's wearing his camera.
Mm-hmm. It's a good thing we came in early for our makeup.
Yeah. Have my eyebrows on straight. Seriously, that has been a thing nationwide, and every police department in the border to border and coast to coast has to cope with that, and that's not cheap. Even here in Lincoln, Illinois, it's very, very expensive. So, do you have a comment to make about that, Chief Meister?
I'm very happy that the city council was supportive of starting the camera project early. Our officers aren't necessarily required by statute to wear the cameras at this point, but we're out ahead of the curve, and our officers are learning to use the cameras. The project's going real well. The evidence that they offer is great. It protects the agency, the city, just everybody involved in an incident when you have video footage available to you immediately. So again, just I'm thankful that the city council was supportive of that project.
Can I tie onto that for 1 second? 100% supportive of the body camera because of the excuse me, of the evidence it provides. But one of the things that came about and why I'm really excited to have them is that with the new safety sorry about that. With the new Safety Act, anonymous complaints can be made against police officers.
Mm-hmm.
Anonymous complaints.
Yeah.
Anonymous complaints can be made with no supporting documentation, no name required, and that anonymous complaint goes in that officer's file and will stay there forever, regardless if it's a legitimate complaint or not. So these body cameras give us the opportunity to see what in fact actually happened. Listen, when these young men and women go through a hiring process with us, it is significant. It is very selective. There's a polygraph. There's a psychological test. There's a background check done. It's not just somebody walking in off the street, putting an application in and being hired. So we're sifting through a lot of folks, and it takes a lot to get actually hired with a law enforcement agency when law enforcement agencies are doing their due diligence, right? When they're not skimping on the process. And we've seen that happen. In law enforcement, we're wide open to exposing bad apples that get into this profession. And we'll lock them up as quick as anybody else, get them out of our profession, because one person, as you know, can just make a whole profession look bad. But these body cameras will give us the ability to quickly eliminate any of those
another
complaints.
thing, I'm going out on a limb here, ladies and gentlemen, but I presume, and I think I'm pretty straight on this, that we don't have the worry that law enforcement have in other places where we have people in the district attorney's office or state's attorney's office, as the case may be, that don't do their job as far as enforcing the law is concerned. You don't have to worry about somebody pushing somebody that ought to be pushed towards court action, whatever it is. And I would guess, without knowing the doggone thing about it, that we can be lucky that we have a good working state's attorney.
We're very fortunate in that aspect. The system in Logan County works well, and Mr. Hauge is our state's attorney, runs a good office. Our courts, we have very professional judges here that are men of honor, and we're fortunate here to be able to work in this community. And another thing,
I claim it's the best in the state.
Is that right, sir?
I would second.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing we have going for us is a community that supports us. You get a lot of these communities that are out there wanting to defund the police and wanting to cut all these, and they've seen now over the years how poorly that's worked out for them, and now they're trying to refund and add officers. But we've never had that issue. We've always gotten great support here in Logan County.
So with the, going back to the body cameras for a minute, was that sort of the impetus for that, was that to comply with the Safety Act?
Yeah, we knew that we were going to have to do the camera project to be in compliance by 2025, but really it's been such a benefit, one for criminal case evidence, and the amount of time that we spend investigating frivolous complaints on officers has dropped drastically over the last 2 months these cameras have been in operation. Instead of an investigation about an officer complaint taking me a day, 2 days, a week, it can take me 10 minutes by watching a video. It's just, there you have it. The truth is right there for you. So that makes us more efficient. So it's
Now, the bane of
again,
all police
been great.
officers, city police or county police, or state police for that matter, the drug problem. What kind of a problem do we, within propriety, what kind of a drug problem do we experience here in our county, gentlemen?
Significant.
Significant.
Absolutely.
The sheriff and the chief both agree that we have a significant drug problem. How does the average person on the street help you?
With tips and information, if they want to share anonymously suspicious behavior that's going on in their neighborhood or wherever they are at the time. We see a lot of drug activity at gas stations, at hotel parking lots, at gaming parlors and bars. If you're out in the community and you see something going on, if you say something, we have a better chance of solving that problem, or even finding that addicted person some help to try to get them off the drugs. We're really after the folks that are selling the methamphetamine and the heroin. Now, the focus isn't on the drug user. The focus is on the dealer. But Mark, go ahead.
Well, I want to make a plug for Crime Stoppers. That line and that number is still active in Logan County, so it's monitored by both Lincoln and Logan. And then also, to Joe's point, they've got a program where, look, folks, if you've hit rock bottom and there's an addiction issue and you want help, then you can walk into the Lincoln Police Department and you can get the help that you need, not law enforcement wise, but to get you to a treatment facility. It's available. And
We've changed the Safe Passages program a little bit. We don't have the staffing or the money that it requires to transport people to outlying communities to seek drug treatment, but we can get them to the Lincoln Memorial Hospital and get them started on the path that they need to go down to get clean.
yeah.
And so with that drug problem, just as average citizen of Lincoln and Logan County that I've been for pretty much all my adult life, the sort of the story or the mindset that I've always heard is that it's people from the big cities that are coming to Lincoln because it's a central location and that's where activity happens. Do you, as much as you can say, is that necessarily true, or is it more of a local problem with local folks?
Some of that's true. Yes, we do have sources of drug supply that come into our county and our city just to set up shop as a business to sell poison to our residents. But our residents also struggle and get involved in those same crimes, and I would say it's a mix of both. We can't blame our problems on the big city folks when we're participating in them as well.
Yeah, let's be honest. It's supply and demand. They wouldn't be here if there wasn't a demand for
There
it.
you go.
But I really want to get this out to folks. This fentanyl and carfentanil stuff that's coming, right? Kids are silly. They make stupid decisions, but one dumb decision shouldn't cost a kid its life, and we're seeing that time after time after time across the country. You may get a pill, something that you think your buddy's giving you or a friend's giving you, that you think you're getting ecstasy or you're getting something that just a normal pill, but inside of that pill, these cartels are creating. They have presses. They have many factories that they press these pills, and that carfentanil and fentanyl is within them. So you're taking something you don't even know what it is, and that ends up resulting in a death or an overdose. You have to be careful, and I know we all think we're invincible when we're young, right? But today it's not like the 1960s and 70s. You went out to buy a joint, and that's what you got was marijuana in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that's going to have any number of things in it, PCP or fentanyl or anything in there, and you're getting a lot more than you bargained for. So,
Yeah, locally we've seen drugs from marijuana to cocaine and the pills that Mark brought up that are testing positive for fentanyl. One Central Illinois school had several students overdose on fentanyl that was in their marijuana. So really, nothing's safe anymore. Not to say that drugs are safe in any manner, but this is a problem that if you ingest that stuff, that's the last opportunity you got. You don't get to fix that mistake because it's that potent. It's terrible.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have two gentlemen, who have given of their time to come up and talk to us about law enforcement in Lincoln, Logan County, and Lincoln, Illinois. Chief Joe Meister and Sheriff Mark Landers. So 648-5510. If you have don't worry about it. We've turned the recorder off, so we won't record your voices. Seriously, if you have a question, we have two professionals with us. This is just not Barney Fife and and company. So seriously, you might have a question that bothers you for some reason. 648-5510. Call up and voice your concerns. So as we think about closing here, gentlemen, whoever would take the lead, Sheriff Landers or Chief Meister, besides money, what would be the biggest problem you face as you open your office doors each day to go to work?
more staff. If I had a wish, it would be for more staff. Running 3 guys per shift for me, with the training requirements, with the vacation time, it's just significantly reduced. And then obviously, I won't harp on it, but the facility, hopefully, that's going to get worked out here. And I'm not saying it'll be an immediate fix, because look, the county's got to figure out the funding, right? And our county board, we got a new county board sitting. They're doing everything they can to look for the money, and we're looking for grants and things of that nature. But that facility has reached its its point where it just needs some definite upgrades and addendums, and we got to do something for that. But the county board and I are working closely to try to make that happen.
And as you mentioned, that's a significant expenditure. I was doing a little research. Dan Tackett back in February of 2022 wrote a column about this and mentioned that you had said the firm's latest number, the architectural firm, showed that expanding the current facility would be a cost of $10.2 million, whereas a new jail would carry a price tag of somewhere between $16 million and $18 million, which you said has even gone up since then.
That was the 2018 numbers, right? So when I reached back out to them in 2021, 22, and asked for an update because of the cost of everything, copper and everything else, that's when the new numbers came through. So this new addition, this smaller addition that we've asked for, which would add eight beds and then numerous other cells in order to accommodate the Safety Act with everything that we're anticipating coming, would be just under $6 million.
Chief Meister, do you have any comments to make as we begin to bring this thing to a close, sir?
I just invite the young people of our community to think about giving law enforcement a serious look. One of the biggest hurdles that Mark and I face now are finding good candidates for police officer and deputy positions. Chiefs and sheriffs 10, 20, and 30 years ago were very lucky. When we would test 10 years ago, we'd have 20, 25 applicants. Now we're lucky to get 4 or 5, and that goes for all agencies and all sizes. I've talked to the Decatur Police Department, the Springfield Police Department, and Peoria. These larger agencies are seeing the same amount of candidates. So really, we've been lucky. But I just urge the young folks to give law enforcement a shot if it's something they're interested in, because it's a rewarding and honorable profession.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate Chief Joe Meister, Lincoln City Police Chief and Sheriff Mark Landers. The guy has been pretty close to my heart because I know he does a heck of a job down there. And law enforcement's not an easy path to follow today, so thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The preceding program is a presentation of WLCN 96.3 FM and WLCNonline.com.